this race with you. Yeah, so we're just going to wait about 30 seconds more for everyone to come on in, and then I will get started on the webinar tonight. Firstly, thank you so much for joining. Thank you for being here and for finding out more about Impact Marathon. We've got about 45 minutes tonight of going through all the different elements of the Nepal Impact Marathon. And yeah, at that point after that, I'll sort of have questions. We've got Bethany here with me. Bethany will handle questions all the way through, and then we'll sort of send me over a message with all of the main questions. So she may handle them as we go, or she may leave them for me at the end if she thinks they're important for everyone to hear. So that's how that's going to work. In fact, we've got our first question coming through. Hopefully everyone can hear me okay. And if that's being the case and not hearing any objections, I'm going to start. So welcome tonight to the Impact Marathon webinar, and specifically Nepal Impact Marathon. As I said, you've got myself, Nick Kershaw. I founded Impact Marathons back in 2015 and have spent the last 5 years putting on races around the world. And I've done 14 of these now, and over the course of that time we've raised over about $1.2 million for different organizations around the world. We've done races in 5-6 different countries, and it's been the most extraordinary journey of my life. This period now, we've taken the time that we now have to spend a bit more time talking to all the different impact runners, potential impact runners, about the races and go a bit deeper into what goes on at an impact marathon. We've never really had this opportunity before to do these webinars, so we're really excited to get that chance to talk to you all tonight. And yeah, this is the third one in our series. We've previously done Guatemala and we've previously done Kenya. So tonight we're focusing on Nepal. Before I jump too far into the Nepal story, a quick overview of what Impact Marathon is. I know there's a lot of new names on the call tonight. Impact Marathon was basically born of a dream that we could use running to uplift communities and empower runners all over the world. We saw this kind of disconnect, both in travel and in running. We saw this disconnect between the communities that we're going to visit. We saw this disconnect when we fundraise for running events with the outcomes and the social good and the externalities that's creating. And we felt that that was a missed opportunity, partly because the amazing work our charities do, and we want to honor that and show that off and empower them. And partly it was a missed opportunity because we as individuals have the power to make a difference in the lives of others. And we wanted to find ways to make that really clear and obvious to everybody, so that you go back home with a better idea of how you can make a difference and empowered by the difference you've made through the Impact Marathon Week. So in just 5 years, Impact Marathon has grown from this one race in Nepal to countries all over the world. And we have always got more in the pipeline. We've got a community of over 400 runners that have come to our events from around the world, but thousands of runners that have run them from in-country runners as well. And that's really built Impact into a much bigger community than I guess I first imagined back in 2015. We have a lot of runners coming back for their second, third, fourth, fifth races. And it's the addictive quality of the experiences that keeps us as the team inspired and engaged and continuing to push on. Our first event was in Nepal, and since then we've directly tackled 7 of the 17 global goals. Those are the sustainable goals for development that the UN laid out as the most important things that we can do as the human species over the next 15 years. That started 5 years ago. We're already a third of the way through in terms of the global goals, and our races are about a third of the way through in terms of global goals that we've tackled during that time. We have races let me just get that into the next screen. We have races in Guatemala, Malawi, Jordan, Kenya, and of course, Nepal, which we'll go into tonight. What is an Impact Marathon is just a really quick one to cover. It's not just a normal race. An Impact Marathon basically takes you away for a week to fully immerse yourself into a culture, fully immerse yourself into the projects and the community, and also run a truly incredible race. We always look for amazing trails. We look to tell a different story, not the obvious story. And we always look at different ways that we can catalyze change in the communities in which we're serving. So why Nepal? when we're looking for a new Impact Marathon location, we first focus on the social story that we want to tell. And more importantly, I guess I said that in the wrong way. We want to tell it, but the community is the ones that decide what that story is that we tell and how we tell it. So we're looking for the social story. We're looking for the countries that you'd not normally go to, countries that are potentially on your list, but you wouldn't know how to travel to. We're looking for those unique places you would never normally go, and really, really special places. Now, Nepal came about as our first one because in 2015 I created the Uganda Marathon, and that was in April 2015. We were gearing up towards this first event that had come about purely because a joke I'd made in a speech one night about doing a marathon somewhere crazy, and we ended up doing that. And during this time building up to the event, it was clear that we'd stumbled across something really, really special. And I was thinking about what more we could do around the world. Was there more communities we could impact around the world? Using this model of running events, of really engaging project experiences and project work, and also that experience of living together within a group of amazing people for 1 week. And during that time, I was looking at whether this was a model that could work in other communities. April 2015 was also a huge month for Nepal. I'm sure most on this call will remember the earthquake that killed over 10,000 people and destroyed hundreds of thousands of homes and schools. And this was the catalyst really to us choosing Nepal. It was in the headlines, and it felt like something that we wanted to do, but we didn't want to just jump straight in and do it. We wanted to talk about what happens 18 months after a natural disaster, when the money has been spent or never was spent, as potentially is the case in Nepal, and when the media attention has long since left. And so when we were looking at Nepal, it was obvious that in the future we wanted to tell this story. And a few months later, I landed in Nepal and found a slightly different story to what I was expecting. And that's why I kind of corrected myself when I said we wanted to tell, because that was kind of the story that we were going to tell about what happens after an earthquake. But really, the earthquake exacerbated problems that were already existent. And one of the major problems facing Nepal is trafficking, both in terms of children and being trafficked for various different things, from circus acts to sex to working in homes across India. So the older kind of trafficking, which is often seen in terms of the amount of Nepalis that are working across the region, having to leave their villages to work, and it does send money home. So there's a lot of discussions around that, but we wanted to focus in on the stories that the communities were telling. And the truth is that when the earthquake happened, the schools were shut down, and when the schools were shut down, children aren't going to school. And if there's one thing that can change the future of a child's life as we know it, is school, and it also is the first line of defense against preventing children from being susceptible to trafficking. So the long tail impact of the earthquake is actually that trafficking increased. And so that's the kind of story that we began to understand. And that's the story that the communities were wanting to tell and wanted support and help with. I'll come on to it in a bit more detail later. Just a little bit on Nepal itself. It's a magical country. And you can see already from this photo, that's not a photo that is from our races. You know, this is not, none of these photos are taken from Google. They're all taken from our races. These are things you will actually see from the athletes' village in Nepal. It's a culturally intense country in the best possible way. The food is incredible. There's color everywhere. You've got sort of the Buddhist traditions, Hindu traditions, all melding into one really extraordinary, loud, vibrant country and culture. Kathmandu is chaotic. The villages are utterly peaceful in contrast. There's so many political challenges, but there's also incredible groups of people fighting those and driving things forward. And what we wanted to do with the Impact Marathon was show all the sides of Nepal, the magical ones that bring people to return to that country time and time again, as well as the challenges. And we saw this as a chance to create something really immersive and that no other experience could replicate. And 5 years in, I'm really comfortable to tell you that we've really done that. Which is what brings up this kind of next question of, after 4 events in our old location in Kalkani Village and Shivapuri National Park, we decided to make a massive change and redesign Nepal Impact Marathon from the ground up. We've got a new village, a new race route, new projects, and I'm really, really excited to share this with you tonight in a bit more detail than what we've ever done before. So there's 3 key elements to an Impact Marathon. that we're looking for when we start in a new country or new location. What is the social reason for us being there? What is the impact? How will we accommodate everyone? And is there an awesome trail running route? Most really important. So let's start with why Batasse became our new village. So Batasse village is up in a region called Sindapalchuk region, and it's super, super remote. And I'll come on to even how we're going to get up there in a little bit. But basically in 2017, a group of runners traveled down from Batasse to our race. And they'd come before, the year before, and we'd seen some really good runners, all teenagers and all just not even thinking about hills and flying up them. But in 2017, that village took home 12 of our 18 trophies, including one 16-year-old boy who finished a 42-kilometer race with 2,000 meters of climbing in just 3 hours and 16 minutes. So we had to find out what the heck was going on up there. And we jumped on our motorbikes, headed up to Batasse, and, well, I've got goosebumps just thinking about that first time we were there. Every single morning, the kids wake up and go trail running. And it's so remote, it's so peaceful. The group of runners, the group of people up there, the Dinesh Tamang, Som Tamang, the people that have been sort of coaching the runners were so welcoming and so much fun. And we just laughed and enjoyed the whole experience. And we saw something that I guess back in 2015, I wasn't ready. I didn't think Impact was ready or could create an event somewhere so remote. But 5 years in, we think that this is now the time to make this happen. And I guess not only did we see all of the elements that we look for in a race, but we also saw a huge opportunity to create an impact. A lot of the things I was talking about earlier impacted Batasse hugely. And we saw that it was long-term change, that we could be community-led, and the community is so open to the new concepts that we kind of started to discuss, that we could see that there would be an opportunity to create a blueprint here. And I know there's some guys on the call, I see some names who've been up to Batasse as well, who know just what I'm talking about in terms of how special it is when you get up there. And then of course there was the running. And one morning we headed out on a 13-kilometer run that was led by an awesome 13-year-old girl who bossed the boys around. It was brilliant. And it climbed 950 meters and took us to places that would give any runner goosebumps. And the children were already running as impact runners. So when we say about running, we talk about we're running together with others, for others. And so we're talking about that. And the children were already doing that. And I think this video I actually stumbled across as I was trying to put this together today. And the older ones are dropping back behind, and the youngest ones were dropping even further back to pace me up the hills, because there's a punchy hills that they took us on that route. Not the routes that we're going to design, but pretty amazing anyway. There was so much laughter, so much joy. And as we were running through, the front kids shout out this little noise, and it's repeated and echoes all the way back from the group. And so I'll just play this video quickly here, just because I stopped mid-run to capture it, and it just captures up the joy of running in this village. Just the most fun. And I can't wait to, I've pressed something I shouldn't have. There we go. I think we're still cooking along. We're doing that again, are we? Cool. So when it comes to Impact Marathon, we've got obviously incredible trails and some of the best trails you'll ever run. And from a travel perspective, it's super immersive and really unique. And the impact runners that you spend time with are a real highlight. But what makes Impact Marathon so special is that we focus so much on the impact and the power of this. Now, what I'm going to talk about now, if you want to go into more detail, please arrange a one-to-one with me. We can delve super, super deep in terms of how we kind of have built the impact process within Impact Marathon, how we intend to build it continually in the future. We're not just trying to tick a box and say, look, we're going to do some nice work and then go run. We're really looking at fundamentally how we can have the biggest impact possible. And in fact, I'm now studying a master's in international development in order to try and really get a better understanding of that as we go along. So you're going to see this develop as those who have been in the race since 2016, a few again are on the call tonight, and you'll already have seen the difference that we've changed in how we do impact. So when we're looking at how to have an impact in Nepal, there's two choices that you sort of are forced into making. One is the sort of the longer term solutions that don't necessarily yield a real concrete fast impact. Then there's the challenges that are faced currently and are solved with an immediate solution that we can fund and get done. And after 5 years of working in Nepal, we've really honed in on a way of balancing both. By blending these two different organizations that we work with, and they've got interconnected issues though, we've been able to both face the present challenges and support with immediate impact, and also start planning for what we can do to solve that problem in the future. And as I said, if you want to go deeper, we can do that. I know that's for some people it's really important. For others it's just like, yeah, I just want to get involved and get stuck in, and both those sides are really welcome at impact marathons. In contrast to what we've done before, we're now actually able to really build the story throughout the week, whereas previously we had the story that we kind of told down in Kathmandu and then a different story that we told up in the village. This time around, because we've created it with our partners from the ground up, with the community leading it, we're actually able to create a far more a story that kind of crescendos throughout the week into that run. And so from Kathmandu up to Patase, that'll be it. And we've also got an opportunity now to hone in on your skills and what you're looking to bring to the party and what you want to bring to an impact marathon. So the days of us all getting stuck in and dirty on a big project are sort of probably behind us in some ways, in terms that we're looking at what is the impact that we can have that transcends just getting dirty. However, there will be plenty of opportunities to get dirty if that's what you want to do and if that's what you're looking for an impact marathon. So throughout the week, you'll be able to sort of almost like pick your story. It's like no, I'm not going to go that Netflix Bandersnatch type thing, isn't it? You can pick your story throughout the week, but that's not quite what I'm trying to say. But it really is going to be a far more personal and intimate experience than we've ever been able to do before. First charity that I'm going to quickly talk about is Burns Violence Survivors. We've worked with these guys since 2015. When we first arrived, they were one of the first meetings I had. Tiny team, amazing team. It's one of the ones that focuses a bit on a short-term need, that there is a larger picture to what this is in terms of women's place in and their role in Nepali society. The fact is that there are 56,000 cases of burns a year, and there's only one adult ward and one child ward in Kathmandu to deal with it. And so this small team, and through our fundraising, we've managed to, well, the fundraising you will do in this coming year will take us over 100 people that we've funded life-saving treatments for. So we basically, there's a problem, which is that people cannot afford the care needed to recover, not only in the initial care stage, but also the counseling and the recovery, the rehabilitation that comes thereafter. So the burns are largely from acid attacks in domestic abuse cases. They're also largely from children who have been left alone by parents who have to go and work in the field. There's often fires inside the house for cooking, and that creates huge hazards that can only be tackled in a preventative way in the long term through education and through a lot of different things in terms of the taboos around women in society. Big topic, and it's an amazing one for you to be able to get to learn more about. What I will do is shout out to the team who have in the last 2 weeks managed to get some legislation into Parliament that will make the use of acid in domestic abuse a far higher punishment for that, and will really focus in on the perpetrators in a way that's not currently enshrined in Nepali law. So that's a massive thing, and a small team who just push away at it. And yeah, I'm really proud of them, to be honest. Incredible team. The next team I want to talk about, and this will be the team that you spend most of your time with through the week, is Child Reach, and the work that they're now doing in Batase community. And we've been working with Child Reach since the very start. As again, one of my early meetings in Nepal was with Ergun Lama, who leads the Child Reach team, and he's one of the most thought-provoking leaders in the sector. And what makes him so special is that he is always looking to collaborate and support the other organizations and charities in the country. And that looking to sort of bring everyone together to work together is is a really special feature in Nepali charity world, and it's a great credit to him, and is one of the reasons we love working with him. Batase now falls inside the region that Child Reach mainly work in, of Sindapalchuk, and what we are now able to do because of that is we've started the work and the planning and the impact long before your feet will hit the ground. And that's been really amazing. We've been able to sit down with the community, the school, Child Reach, and obviously Impact with that goal, that catalyst goal of the marathon in the horizon, and work together with solutions that are most prevalent in that community. For example, since the earthquake, the teachers in Sindapalchuk have not had a permanent homes. So that means all of them will be living in makeshift houses with no privacy. And that means that there's no consistency to the school teachers in the schools. So the teachers are constantly changing, which gives the children no consistency at all. And they're often having to have temporary teachers. And so that's a massive difference. We all know the difference that one teacher can make in our lives, and when that teacher is constantly changing and there's no solidity to the staff. So we've begun building, and it has been affected by the current circumstances, we've begun building a permanent house for the teachers. We've also, Child Reach have begun to put their sports for development program into school. Sports for development focuses on engaging children in school, keeping them in school. And if you look at, again, how do you prevent trafficking? How do you increase opportunity? How do you educate to the point where people are able to create the lives for themselves they currently can't, and break out of the old taboos that hold them back, or lack of opportunity, most importantly. That is through school, and through the Sport for Development program is all around creating a voice in the school, is all of the individual within the school, and it's all about creating a super engaged and confident group of children. So that's already started. So by the time we head up to Batase, we'll be seeing already the impact this race is having, and then we'll be getting involved in different ways. And we've got so many ideas around this. A lot of it will depend a bit about what happens post-COVID and also post-monsoons, because there'll be another 2 monsoon seasons before we arrive into Kathmandu next year. But during that time, we've been looking at business plans. For those of you who have a business acumen and experience, we are looking at installing rainwater harvesting systems, working in the farm on the school. The school has its own farm that we want to integrate into a cooperative so they can generate income from selling those fruits and vegetables and stuff down in Kathmandu. So there's loads of different ideas, and a lot of it will come together over this next 12-month period before we're heading out to Nepal. I am almost on time, I think, depending on how I'm going to go, but I'm going to take a quick drink here. So with this one, we've got a little surprise for everybody, because we're going to do something that we've never done before in an Impact Marathon. We've never needed to do before in an Impact Marathon, truthfully. And that is mainly because the village is really remote. The route to get up there is really stunning. So we figured that we'd throw all of your bags, or gently place all of your bags into a lorry, and we would trek up to the village. So you get that experience of trekking in Nepal, which is obviously what the country is famous for, as a way of preparing for the race, as a way of learning more about the country, seeing more of its topography. The route itself is really interesting route as well, including national parks, including one whole town that's never really been rebuilt since the earthquake, all of these types of things that you'll see along the way. It is a 42-kilometer walk. Perfect, I know. All the runners are cheering. So it's a really good acclimatization, climbing from the 1400 meter altitude of Kathmandu up to the 1900 meter altitude of Batase. Beautiful way to see the country. Amazing first day. This is a really exciting thing for us. We discussed all of the different options, and we were like, no, we got to walk. And it'll be a really good chance. We'll spread out. We'll have a lot of the Batase guides will come down and be taking everybody up. So if you're a slow walker or whatever, that's fine. We've got a lot of time. It takes about an hour longer to walk it than it is on the bus. So, we might as well be up there walking through Shivapuri Park and all of those. When you get to Batase, as I said earlier, you've got Dinesh, Fulmaya, Som, all of the crew there who are the most fun. I've already got some really incredible stories. They are amazing characters. And when we talk about the Athletes Village, this is something that we usually create, and it pops up. So we create a place for everyone to stay, and it's pretty amazing. So people you'll head up, and we'll have created up there with the community the Athletes Village, where you'll be staying for the next few days. Now, the amount of impact runners, I think I said at the beginning, 35% of impact runners have come to another impact race. And there's a reason for that. And that is nearly always to do with the community. And the community itself is built so well because of the athletes village. We put it out there in nature. We put it somewhere stunning. This is this is your holidays. After all, you're taking time off work to be here. We're going to make sure that you wake up to something special. But also how we get everyone to connect. We've got the sunset bar, and at Nepal, it gets cold at night, very cold. So, that sunset bar, we're all cuddled around the bar and cuddled around the bonfire, having a cold beer. Seems I want to, or warm rum punch. That's the really good thing there that we do in Nepal. It's just a really special community. And the athletes village is a really key part. How we design it, everything we do around it is to bring everyone together as a group. Now, as you can probably already tell by the fact you're hiking up to the village, this is not going to be something that you want you're expecting first world luxuries. If you go trekking up in Everest region or Annapurna, you'll find the same kind of things that you're going to find, potentially even more remote, because we're building them from scratch a little bit. So things like electricity, hot water, these are all things that you should probably just enjoy your night in Kathmandu with before you head on up. But however, we do have certain standards, because this is a race at the end of it. And we're a professional organization. We do this 365 days a year, and we're pretty good at getting it right in this front. So super basic level, you can expect safe, sanitary. The basics are provided to have a home base where you feel safe and you feel comfortable throughout the stay. We want you to sleep well. We want you to eat well and keep as clean as possible. And yeah, from here, each of the athletes villages kind of go somewhere different. Now, what we know about this new one, because the planning for this is going to be something that goes on all year round, we've looked at loads of different options and how to do this, and we'll confirm it again. Things like monsoon season, things like how things are, the amount of labor there is up at the campsite, all of these kind of things can be affected by what's going on at the moment. So I want to make sure you keep everything flexible, but expect certain things, and everything else we like to keep as a surprise as well, just to make you go wow. It will all be tented accommodation, looking out over the valleys and the snow peaks of Langtang Range that you can see. In fact, this photo was taken, I didn't even have to do a sit-up. I was just lying in my bed and took that photo of the sunrise over the Himalayas from Batase. So you can expect some absolutely stunning views and yoga in the morning. We always do the yoga in the morning. There'll be 3 levels of accommodation. Bring your own tent, literally bring your own tent, sleeping bag, mat, everything. And we've got space for you. Base camp, which will have mattresses and beddings, and summit camp, and tents, mattress, bedding, and tent, and summit camp, which will have the prime views, more privacy. We're pretty sure there'll be raised beds as well. And each step up is a significant leap in what you'll be expecting and what you'll be able to enjoy coming up there, and you'll get more home comforts through that. Showers, I'm going to say it out loud right now. I cannot see a way where there won't be bucket showers. If there are proper running showers, I'll eat my hat, which I have many of. But there'll be bucket showers, which, to be honest, I really love bucket showers with options around hot water, just as there are if you go up to Everest. You can always find a bucket of hot water somewhere. Toilets will be creating for the event as well. It will be raw, but it will be sanitary. And when you look around the village, you'll see that you'll be living pretty well by comparison. And that's all about what brings the whole community and group together. So you'll probably take one night to adapt, and then you'll be loving life up in the Himalayas. And as I said, every time I take people up to Batase, every time I've taken new members of the team up, seeing their response, seeing the way that like this weight just kind of falls off their shoulders, seeing the smiles and the energy and the excitement, all of it just means that for next year, I am so excited for all of you to experience it. Before I jump into race day, which I know is what most people join this webinar to hear about, food. We will Dinesh, who will be doing a lot of the cooking, is a genius, and we have some surprises in store. But in the main, we'll be having mainly traditional Nepali food. Expect lots of rice, lots of dal, which is the lentil curry that we kind of live for as a team. We've loved the food in Batase. It's really good food. In line with the new Impact Marathon Green World program, which you can read on our website, the food will all have a story to it. It will all be sourced locally. It will be largely vegetarian. And we want to not only lower the impact of our food on the menu and the menu itself, but we want to engage you with where this food has come from, the story behind it, how this recipe. So the recipes and the menus will be curated in a way that we've never done before. And I'm really excited for that. In terms of whether you're vegetarian, vegan, any dietary requirement, gluten-free, whatever it is, just tell us in advance. We'll make it happen. We pride ourselves on not only making sure that the food is safe for you to eat, but actually is really enjoyable and nice and has that same values that we're looking for in all of the menu. The menu itself will actually also be largely vegetarian as well. I think I mentioned before. That's the Athletes Village. Again, drop your questions in. I'm seeing questions popping up. That's totally fine. I will, if Bethany's not handling them as we speak, I will be handling them at the end. And I'm sure there's some common questions amongst you all. And so, yeah, next up, it's the day we've all been waiting for. And you can see from my smile how much I enjoy running in Batasse as well, especially when it's mornings like that, when the mountains are in clear view. Not every morning do you get that much of a perfect view of the mountains, but for sure, that was a really special run. The route is going to be revisited throughout the year. I have to say this again, monsoons and landslides change the face of Nepal every single year. And we don't necessarily know all the routes are what we expect them to be until we get out there after the monsoons are finished. However, we've got, as you saw earlier, a group of incredible trail runners who are out there and they know every single goat path around the area to make a spectacular and brilliant route. And with our routes, we don't just design them to hit the distance. In fact, sometimes they go a little over the distance, but never under the distance. That's a key rule. You will run your distance. But we like to tell the story of the nation. So you can expect that we'll take you on some fairly unique paths. We look to take you for an experience and not just to tick off the kilometers. This is not a normal race. I have to say that pretty clearly. You'll have already had one hike and 2 runs, at least, to acclimatize to the altitude. It's not as high as our race used to be. It's actually a bit lower than the previous race, so that will help things. It's around 2,000 meters, and I'll show you the profile in a bit. So you've gotten over the shock of the first few kilometers when you're first learning how to run at altitude, and you'll understand a bit more of what to expect by then. What I would say from a personal experience of running at altitude is keep yourself out of that red zone. The red zone is when you're out of breath and you're really struggling. On that first hill, if you hit it at your normal running speed, you're going to hit the red, and then you're going to really be in the, you're never going to come out of it properly until the end of the race. And so what we always talk about is just literally slowing your pace down and never letting yourself go too far into that high heart rate zone, and just enjoying it. Cheer on your other runners. This is not a normal race. You will not get a personal best unless this is your first time at that distance, in which case you're guaranteed a personal best next time you run that distance, because it's a really tough course. We do expect runners to be running for up to 8 hours. We also expect some guys finishing in under 4 hours. The Impact Marathon race day is all about running together with others, for others. It's the victory lap. It's the final bit of the race. And by the time you get there, you will just be out there to enjoy it. And the fears and the worries that you're going to no doubt feel as you build up to the race, they will have dissipated by the time you've met your other Impact runners. You'll have run with some of them. You'll go, okay, cool, we're the same pace. We're going to run together. If you're super competitive, you can test out, oh, he's not good on the hills. Don't get too competitive, but that's the spirit of the running event. It's not a normal race. However, preparing for altitude, preparing for the trails, we've actually got on the call tonight Keith McIntosh, who won our race back in 2016. He also is now managing the Everest Marathon up at proper high 5,000 meter altitude. So I would love, he has a coaching program, Nomadical Coaching, and I think the Impact on him, he doesn't know this yet, I'm literally saying it out loud because he's on the call. I think Impact and Nomadical should team up and get something out there for people preparing for the hills and the altitude of Nepal, because very few people know it better than Keith himself, who won our race in 2016, and he also won our race in Malawi in 2018. So he's pretty good at the old running thing. Bit more detail on the course. Let me just be able to see what's happening on the screen. The 10 kilometer, and this is all provisional, as I said, 10 kilometer is an out and back route. It has 580 meters of ups and downs throughout it. And then the 21 kilometer goes out that same route and back that same route, but is like a lollipop and heads off doing the lollipop. And that's just under 1,000 meters of elevation. And the 42 kilometer is just under 2,000 meters of elevation. This is pretty normal for our impact marathons in Nepal, and it's pretty similar to our race in Guatemala. It is intimidating if this is your first proper race or if this is your first marathon, but I can assure you it's absolutely possible. We've had people of all abilities come. If you're a great runner, you're going to be in heaven. If you're new to running, you're just going to enjoy every single step. And that's what we say, just treasure race day. I've put the picture up on the side here of my training run out there, because that's the kind of path that you can expect through the paddy fields, stuff like this. But we've also got some wider roads, and you'll be going through the villages, and there'll be a normal village working day. So you can expect to see people out doing what they are normally doing on a Saturday. So that's basically a bit of information on the 3 courses. Now, a key thing that we do that's pretty special about Impact is that our whole thing, because we love you running together and because you're all friends and the best of friends by the end, by race day, and because there's so many of the Nepalis running with you and all of those kids out there, the 10 kilometer 21, we start the 42 early, then the 21. So when the 42 kilometer guys are hitting that second loop, they're getting joined and supported through that brutal second loop with their 21K guys. And then the out and back, the 10K starts a bit later. So people are finishing their final 5 kilometers or so with the 10K runners as well. So there's so much energy out there. We want you really looked after, and the energy of the whole group throughout it. Yeah. That's just to visually tell you how messed up this route is. Like, it's so much up and down, but it's special. And this photo there was taken with James, who is our race director for a couple of years and helped us scout out this route. The first time we went out there, we did a sunset run with the team, and it's spectacular. But the one stat that I really loved when I was looking through the details of the race route that our team this year, Bethany and Mark, put together, was the total flat. So for over your 42 kilometers, just under 2 kilometers of those will be flat running. The rest will be either up or either down. And as a Nepali phrase, which is Nepali flat, which is little up, little down. And that's about right for this running route, as you can see from that course. And you can see in the middle here, this is where you got the turnaround point. So the lowest point in the course is actually the start finishing line, which does mean you got a fun finish, which I'm sure you'll all remind me of when you give me a sweaty hug at the end. You can see from James here just what the course does to you. Chill out, relax, but just look at the view behind. And anytime you're struggling, when you look up and see the Himalayas, it really is motivational. And yeah, for me, I've done a couple of races out in Nepal, and when I do, there's always tears at some point. Sometimes just how happy I am to look up and see those beasts in the distance. It's really amazing. And we'll have a lot of Nepali runners with you as well. It should be a really busy race day out there on the course. In terms of water points, every 3 to 5 kilometers, we'll have water points. This is standard impact stuff that is the same on nearly every race. Medics, every 5 to 10 kilometers. I'll come on to them in a second. Toilets, yep, carry some paper. We imagine that we'll be able to get some stuff. Probably some schools will be able to open up their toilets and stuff like this for us. Don't know at the moment, but prepare to go wild. And yeah, talking about wildlife, goats, buff oxen, monkeys. I haven't seen any monkeys in Batassi, but I put it in there just in case. So we definitely had some previously. Out of that, yeah, I've had a very bad experience. Well, not a very bad experience, a very humorous experience with a goat before. We'll talk about that around the campfire whilst cuddled up, I imagine. The goat story. Anyway, Nick, you've digressed. Obligatory kit, hydration vest. We want you to be carrying enough water around the course, especially running at altitude. It will be a bit hot. Nepal gets super cold at night, but through the day at this time of year, you can expect it to be low 20 degrees Celsius up to mid 20 degrees Celsius. So hydration is going to be super important, particularly with the altitude. Emergency silver blanket. Reason I put in silver rather than just emergency blanket, which is normally self-explanatory, is because one lady once, as she was getting off a plane, realized she didn't have an emergency blanket, so stole the blanket from her seat on the plane. Obviously, you don't want to be running a marathon whilst carrying a plain blanket with you. I mean, those tin foil things to keep you warm in case of any issues. A whistle, trail shoes are a must. and a waterproof is pretty important. We don't expect rain on the day, but it can get windy up there. Batase, in fact, means high winds basically in Nepali, so you can expect it to be windy, and the views endlessly magical, and I really mean that. They really are extraordinary views, as you can see before. As I say, I'll ask your questions now. If there's nothing I've covered there, then I'll cover at the end. I am actually bang on time. Bethany is doing a little jig of delight over in New York. And so duty of care, we have always and will work with the Exile Medics. They're a British organization. They send out as many medics as we request, all of them, junior consultants, paramedics. We've had consultants as well, all incredible people who donate their time. They cover the cost of coming out themselves, and they look after you not only on race day, but actually throughout the entire week. They'll be there, they'll be working beside you, getting to know you. We do clinics every single night. So if you've got a little niggle, you can go and they'll strap it up. If you've got any other issues that can come up when we travel, they can look after you. And if you've read somewhere that you should, on a blog that running at altitude, you should, do this or eat this or whatever, talk to the medics and they will give you some impartial advice on whether to do that or not. And they're there throughout the week. They're also there around the course. The Exile medics are the best adventure medics in the world. You look at any of the reputable races out there and you can expect to see Exile medics somewhere in that. The people that I've worked with them since 2015 on every single race. I wouldn't do a race without them. They're absolutely brilliant. And I really, I can't say enough about them. In terms of us as Impact Marathon, this is what we do, as I said, 365 days a year. We're the only dedicated team to putting on these type of races in the world, and we see this as a very different way to, I think, what most race directors feel is that you're not a race number. You, by the end of the week, we know you pretty well, and we know while you're there, and even before you sign up, we know your motivation. Sometimes we know why you're there, the reasons you're doing it. And it really matters to us, not only that you are safe, but you have an incredible time. So you're going to find a very personal team that looks after you very, throughout the whole experience. And basically that's how we look at it. I don't know how to say that without sounding a bit cheesy or whatever, but it really matters to us that you don't just stay safe, but you have an incredible time to go home. And if our whole focus is around you having an impact, we want you safely home, having that impact and creating that impact in your companies, in your families, in communities thereafter. This is not just a normal race. This is not just ticking Nepal off your box. This really is a spectacular week. And we will be a team that we hope and we have seen will be meeting you at some other far-flung airport in the months and years ahead. We do also handle kind of the other stuff that you want to do out in Nepal. This photo was actually taken by Bethany, which is the best photo any of the ops team has ever taken, despite my long requests many times for good photos when they're out there. This is from Everest Base Camp Check. If you want to do what we call doing the double, which is going straight from a marathon into Everest Base Camp, you can do this. All of the guides that we use now with Take on Nepal who are from Batase village. So you'll be heading out with the same kids you've just run with, and adults you've run with, and teenagers you run with, and they take you up there. And that's what makes this a really awesome organization. They're also one of the first, if not the first organization to hone in on having female guides, which is phenomenal. They've had female only treks up into all different regions of the country. And they've got a leave no trace policy, which fits in with our Green World program. And they're really conscious about the impact that tourism has, especially in the remote areas, such as the national parks of Nepal. It's really, really important to us. We've got a number of different things you could do before the trip, before the Impact Week starts. We've got the Kathmandu one-day adventure, where we take you around and teach you all around the Kathmandu to do all the major sites in a day. We've got the Everest flight, where you spend 90 minutes circling Everest, which is always super popular with our runners. And only, you can do it in the morning before things kick off. Then, we got to do the double, the Everest Base Camp trek. And actually, Langtang Valley is a really cool one because you'll start from Batase and hike up into the valley from there. And the guides from Batase up into Langtang, that's their region. So it's a really, really special one. Langtang as well is not a region that gets as much attention as Annapurna and Everest. So you get a bit more solid, like solitude, which is I think what we all love most about the mountains as well. And it's a very, very spectacular mountain range. That's the bolt-ons. You can talk to us about that throughout the year. Bethany knows a lot about that now, having experienced it herself throughout the year. And yeah, we will happily arrange stuff. If there's other things specifically you want to do, just let us know. And we have the right partners to be able to make that happen for you. Finally, how to register. All of the different options include your food and itinerary, all the same. The difference is how you're sleeping, basically, and the comfort levels therein. As I said at the beginning, bring your own tent is, well, I don't even think we include grass here. I think we've got a bit more of a dusty athletes village, but let's just call it grass for now. So that's, you know, you pitch up, you bring your stuff, and you get at least the privacy of your own tent, and yeah, becoming a more popular option as we go along. Base camp, we don't quite know. This will be slightly different tents to what we've had before because we're not at the same place, but you'll definitely be getting, so we don't know how many people will have in the tent and stuff like this, but you'll have a mattress, bedding, really good for groups, and also solo. We actually, about 30% on every trip are solo travelers. So if you are a solo traveler, you won't be a solo traveler after the first night. That's all I'll say. You're pretty much one with the group very quickly. So base camp is always our most popular option, is base camp. Then summit camp is more private. It will have the prime views, the best views in the village. Yeah, raised mattresses, I'm going to say, is going to happen. Bedding as well, and also on summit camp you can have a single supplement, so you can have your own tent at that point as well. We do a deposit system at the moment. You can do that. All of it's done online and in major currencies. So if you want to pay in dollars, if you are, in fact, wherever you're based, the website should automatically say the euro price, dollar price, Swiss franc price, all of those type of things from geo-locating you. Very clever. We are, as I said at the beginning, having a deliberately small group, so this is going to sell out. So if you put the deposit down, you're guaranteed a place at the moment, but we don't want a big group on this. We want a team of people who are up for really engaging in this idea and this concept that we're trying to build here in terms of the level and the immersiveness of the impact. So if you want to do it in 2021, come with ideas, come with creativity, and you can be really part of something truly special. But it does mean we're going to keep the group a bit smaller than we would normally have an Impact Marathon. Everything at the moment is covered by our 2020 booking policy, and that's very simple. If at any point, any time, no questions asked, you can move everything you've paid to a new race, whether you defer a year because you're not comfortable, or even if you've got injured, you're covered by this policy because you're booking in 2020. You can move it to another race, same package, same level package, and that's sort of guaranteed. So totally understand that at the moment booking travel is a bit of a big thing. We've had an amazing amount of bookings during this period that has humbled me, because it really means the world that people will still be saying, you know what, no, I want something to look forward to in 2021. And we've had amazing people signing up, both new people to Impact and returners. So we've had a lot of bookings, but everyone is covered by our 2020 booking policy, deliberately flexible, so that you can feel comfortable signing up to this, knowing that things change. Just on that, I think there's probably a question about it. There usually is. We look at it from two perspectives when it comes to green lighting an event in the time of COVID, and that is it right for the community? That's the first question we ask. And the second question we ask is, can we travel to and from without hindrance? And if we can answer both those comfortably, then the race is going ahead and we're going all in. But we add in that first question because that's fundamentally why we're there. And if it's not going to have a positive impact in the community because of all the different complications that could happen, then we're really comfortable. We get out there early, we keep you really informed, and we focused on all of our comms throughout this period being really transparent and full of integrity as best we can, in terms of telling you what's going on and our thoughts behind it. And that's why we've had no major issues at all during this time, and we've actually seen Impact grow quite a lot throughout the COVID period, which is awesome. So that's our booking policy. If that was in the questions, then great. I'm just checking to see, and yep, we've got some questions already coming in. What precautions are you putting in place to protect communities you are working with, interacting with, in respect to risks from the current pandemic? So Bethany, who is leading up our ops at the moment, has been working throughout this period, looking at all the different events from travel to running, and seeing how people are putting on events like this in terms of the interacting with the communities. Obviously, we don't know what the world is going to look like by November next year, but we do probably can give a considered guess that although vaccines may well be possible and available at that time, whether they're up in the village in Vatase is a different question. We'll be making sure throughout the year that we're telling you what's going to happen. But for sure, we have a plan already, because we've got a race in March in Guatemala for social distancing throughout the week. In terms of how we're accommodating, we're going with lower sizes of groups so that we're not cramming lots of people into small spaces and small buses and all that type of thing. So from all the different areas, we'll be looking at it from this perspective of this week. Everything from the hike, which we'd already planned, but the hike helps with the social distancing. So again, we're not getting into the small bus. To the way that we'll accommodate, again, when it comes to base camp accommodation, summit camp accommodation, it may well be that we change the way that we team people up and creating small bubbles throughout the group. We've got plans for that. I don't want to say like this is exactly what's going to happen, because we've got no idea what's going to happen next month, let alone next year. But for sure, we've always made it, and that's why I put that slide in around duty of care. We've always made sure that we put the safety of you guys up top, and that's everything from the food and the quality of the food that we eat to stop people getting ill, to the transport providers we use when we're transporting people around the country, to the risk assessments we do on the course, to the level of communication we have as a team. You can be really assured that we'll be doing the same level of due diligence and process ahead of that. How many participants do you expect? What's the deadline to sign up? We're expecting 50, and we want to make sure that that's probably going to be what our group is. 50 is about what we would want for a first event. And we're already, I think, over half full on that. So deadline to sign up is pretty much when that fills out. Traditionally, this race gets very popular around November, December, and January. I would anticipate that we will be sold out by January. So the sooner you put the deposit down, absolutely the best you can do. What other activities or treks do you suggest in Nepal? Where to start? I personally, I think I always try, this is just a personal opinion here. I've spent 7-8 months now living in Nepal. I haven't visited the Himalayas nearly as much because I love working too much. But I always look for the unique places you can go. So for instance, Poon Hill is a very popular trek that takes 3 to 4 days. However, Mardi Himal is a new trek that's developed that is about 4 days and much quieter and really, really special. So message us about it, because we've got lots of thoughts and opinions on it. I know Bethany and Holly both absolutely love their experience out in Everest Base Camp last year. But personally, I would choose Langtang, because you'll be looking at it all week. And you might as well, if you looked at it all week, go up and explore those mountains a bit closer, specifically because this is where the Batase guides are really at home. Will there be electricity facilities for charging homes there? Yes, there will. There will be electricity and facilities for charging your phones. It won't always be super consistent, and I can't promise it to be consistent, but yes, there is that. There is also Signal. The team is always charged up with lots of data, so you can hotspot off us. In the event, I don't anticipate there'll be Wi-Fi up in the athletes village, but there'll be loads of different hotspots. We may even create and bring up our own hotspots so that everyone can kind of tag into that and use the 4G data that is possible in certain areas around the village. So yes, there will be electricity, sort of communal charging points and all that type of thing. Barring any other questions from Bethany, anything coming up on the screen here? I can't seem to. I'm going to unshare the screen so I can see the questions and answers. Where do I go here? There we go. Now you get my full face. Yeah, cool. And Bethany's been answering throughout, which is great. Super. So any other questions, you can message me, Nick at impactmarathon.com. I'm happy to answer and talk through it. Apart from that, thank you for taking 54 minutes of your life to spend with us and Impact Marathon. I hope that you are inspired to spend a whole week with us now, and to come create and drive the impact and the change that we want to see in the world. So thank you so much. And that is the end of the webinar. Thank you, guys.